We don't see each other at Zoom anymore, at yoga anymore.
I know. I know.
Danny, do you think we could record this tonight?
It's already recording.
Oh, fantastic. Danny, you think of everything. Okay. 6:31. So let's begin. Let me just do this and do that. Okay. And now I'll share a page. Okay. I'd like to begin actually with lighting the menorah. And in the spirit of tonight's class, I wanted to show you that I made a menorah for tonight. So what I did was I took my favorite bottle of Balvenie, empty bottle of Balvenie single malt scotch, and I put a paper around it and I decorated it, right? And then I took a can of my favorite kosher beans, and I decorated it with my grandchildren's names.
Beautiful.
Okay? And it took me a minute, and we're about to do a kosher Chanukah lighting. So what you do is, and you're going to see how, let's do it together. And I'm going to stand. Now, although I fulfilled the commandment with my children and grandchildren a few minutes ago, we're going to do it together as a community because it's considered a blessing. Now, if I could make the matches light, that would even be another miracle. Let's see. Oh no, I took the wooden matches because I thought they would light faster, you see? That was, but I am prepared. Look at that, Publix. Publix will not let me down. Okay, please join me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Chanukah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asa nisim lavoteinu hayamim hahem b'azman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'eheyanu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Ma'osur Yeshuati v'chana elishabeya tefilati v'sham toda nizabeya yetachimot beya insaram nabeya chazekor b'shir mizmor Chanukah mizbeach. So here, in the spirit of this evening, here you see I took a Balvenie scotch bottle, and what did I do? I turned it into a shamash using a can. I super glued a tea candle to the top, and this is for the first night definitely a halachic and acceptable. Can everyone see it in the background? Okay,
Yeah.
good.
No, I cannot see anything.
You can't see that?
No.
Can anyone else see it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
I see.
All right, so let's continue.
So now
the whole,
the question is it the right candle or is it the first, is it the left?
okay, so we're going to answer that at the very end of class, and I'm definitely as well going to answer any questions that you might have about Chanukah in general.
Okay.
But let me tell you why I wanted to teach this class. I was a junior at Yeshiva University, and I had my own apartment, and it was early December, and Chanukah came very early that year. I think it was December 12th that year. And what happened was we didn't go home because we had finals. end of December, usually at university used to have finals. And the dormitory closed. So a lot of the guys had to sleep in my apartment. I must have had like 6 or 7 guys. And a lot of the guys that were sleeping in my apartment were either out of towners, so they didn't have menorahs, or they were from, why were they sleeping in my apartment if they lived in New York? Because we were staying up late every night and studying. So what happened was we didn't have a menorah. It was and it was, the nights before we all lit in the dormitory, but that one night we didn't have a menorah. So I opened up my refrigerator and I didn't buy any food. You know why? Because I was about to go home to Miami. So what would I go and buy food for? The only thing I had was potatoes. So what did I do? And oil. I had no candles. So what did I do? It was, I believe it was the 4th night of Chanukah. I took 1 potato and I cut it into 4 equal parts. I hollowed out a hole. I took the bigger candle and I cut off the end so it would stand up. I hollowed out a hole. I poured oil into the hole. Then I took a cotton swab, a Q-tip, and I stuck it in the oil, it took a while, it soaked it up all the way up, and we lit it, and it burnt for about an hour and a half. And it was just olive oil. It actually wasn't olive oil. It was, corn oil, cooking oil. And that was absolutely a kosher menorah. And what happened was later on, I remember host a spotlight of your video for everyone. Okay. So what happened was I shared that with someone and said, what are you talking about? It's not a kosher menorah. And we spoke to our Rav and the Rav said, absolutely, absolutely. So this is what I wanted to show you today. So some quick examples. Here you can, the person took 9 wine bottles. Now, at the very end, we're going to learn that there's actually, if you look really closely, there's a slight problem. You see this one, the middle one is taller, but both ends are taller. That's not acceptable. So what are the materials? 8 similar size bottles, 1 taller bottle. Now, please note in the picture above the bottles on the end are taller and that shouldn't be. No, the only one that's supposed to be taller is the shamash. Now, the shamash can be in the middle. We're going to learn this halacha at the very end if we have time. The shamash can be in the middle, or you can have all 8 of them in a straight line and the shamash can be at either end. And here's another little shock for you. It can even be separated and off to the side. And here's another shock for you. The shamash can even be smaller, lower than the others, but it has to be set aside. It cannot look like the other ones, okay? Now here's some ideas for like, if, a lot of people like do it yourself home projects. You can paint each bottle a different color, or you can teach them all the same, or you can mix, be creative. Now, the other thing is that it's not just a project for you and your children, but it's something, especially now, but a lot of people are looking for something to do with their children and grandchildren, because even if they are in school, they're not in school 8 hours a day. And even if they do go to school 3 or 4 hours a day, it's not every day. And parents and grandparents are looking for things to do with their children. And this is definitely a fun thing to do. How about this one? Those are old nail polish menorahs.
Fabulous.
Okay. And it's just being creative and it's something to do. Now, don't think, oh my gosh, how long does it take to go through nail polish? It's going to take me 2 years to get one. Well, here's a lot of times people go and get their nails done. And you know what you should do? Ask the nail salon if they have empty bottles. It's not like they're keeping them. They're not reusing them. They probably go through 20 or 30 a day. Boom, nail polish menorahs. They're really cute. And you can fill them up with, here they used sand. Okay, by the way, you can use any bottles, spice bottles, condiment bottles, any small bottles. It's just an idea to make it look cute and quaint. Now also, I think I mentioned it here or in one of the others. If you, children, you can take regular food coloring. Judy just did it yesterday. In case you guys aren't aware, Aliza is here for 4 months. She rented a house in North Bay Village, 4 minutes away. They're actually here in the other room. We lit candles and we had a quick dinner. So yesterday we took white rice, and I don't have to tell you how cheap white rice is. And you just take food coloring and it sucks it up in seconds. And you can fill these little canisters up with different color, do it with your children. It takes a moment, a minute, and you can different colors. And if it's not with your children and grandchildren, just do it yourself to make a decorative menorah and rice or colored sand. It's really simple and it's a lot of fun. What's really great, by the way, you know how hard it is to get candles to stay up? You have to melt the bottom and they always turn. Guess what? If you use sand, you just push them down. They're fine. They don't fall. It's great. Next one is a colored sand menorah. Hold on a second. It's my son, Sam. The rabbi. Hey guys, I'm teaching a class. Can I call you back? Okay. Very good. Jonathan, I'm teaching a class. I'll call you back. There he is, everyone. Dr. Pearlson.
Nice.
Okay. He probably just, I know he just lit with his kids and they want to thank us for the things we sent. So here's colored sand menorah. They're really, really, really beautiful. They're a lot of fun to make. You can't screw up. And it's something to do with your kids. What I wanted to show you is that every single one of these menorahs so far is 100% kosher. Now, amongst the halachas, I better teach it to you now because I said 45 minutes and it's going to be 45 minutes. I don't think that people should go over their time limitation. To be a halachic menorah, the 8 candles have to be at the same level. You can't have one really tall and one lower. And there are some really beautiful artistic menorahs that do that, but they're not kosher. Now, the other question is, can they be in a semicircle or can they be in a circular motion? The rabbi said, interestingly, that's okay as long as they're all on the same level. But what happens if they're shaped like a C? Right? That's okay. It's all right. It's acceptable. All right. So here's the colored sand menorah. I personally love this one. A mason jar menorah. So let's talk about some other options about a mason jar menorah to give you creative ideas. This isn't the rabbi and me. This is Eliot, the creative Eliot. If you don't have craft paints to paint them, or you're afraid that paint will spill, craft paints, by the way, are usually water soluble, but it still can make a mess if it falls on your carpeting, especially if you're working with small children. So the other option is that you can wrap the jars with different colored yarn. And I experimented, but unfortunately, one of my grandchildren unwound it because they thought it was so cute. My granddaughter just walked into the room. You want to say hello to everyone? I got you. Here she is. Say hello. Okay, there she goes. Run. Oh, a froggy. Okay, so that was the frog she brought me. So you can wrap the mason jars in yarn. And if you want, I didn't do it, but you can just use a hot glue gun to make them stick. You don't have to. Another option is, this is really easy. You fill the jars with water and you put in different food colorings. It also works. Tried it, it worked fine. Lastly, you can just wrap the jars with different colored crepe paper or construction paper. So for example, I took a can, a can of beans, and I just wrapped it in white paper and I wrote my grandchildren's names on it. But you can use, I don't know, I'm sure I have here also, I should have done it. I have different colored printing paper. I have yellow, I've got blue, and you could just do that. You don't have to do anything fancy. You can write on it, decorate it, let your children draw pictures on it. The other thing you can do is download images from the internet and print it. Anything you like, Chanukah-based menorahs and dreidels, things of that nature. And it's a lot of fun. And by the way, lahavdil, we shouldn't compare what our non-Jewish Christian neighbors do, but one of the great things that they do that I always thought was fantastic is they make yearly new ornaments for their Christmas trees, and they do home crafts, and it becomes like they inherit them. Now, don't get me wrong. I think it's great that we spend money and buy menorahs, but many times people like to light, everyone in the house can light a menorah. Imagine if you made a menorah with your children or your grandchildren with them, and it could be easily taken apart and put away. They can use it for years to come and remember, especially not only that, if you just wrap it with crepe paper or construction paper, they can update it every year. They can add to it. You know, this year they did dreidels, and they can next year, guess what? Glue on cutouts and things of that nature onto these mason jars or any of the other jars. Now, don't hesitate to be creative. So here is, this is really easy, building blocks. In this particular situation, not that they're building blocks, but they're just, you know what a 2x2 is? You can buy a 2x2 at Lowe's Hardware or at Home Depot. A 2x2 by 6 feet is only $4.85, $5. And you cut it into 2-inch lengths. And look, then now you can super glue them, you can hot glue them, or you can just line them up. The benefit of just lining them up is when Hanukkah is over, guess what you do? They're not glued together. So you take them apart, put them in a box, put them in a bag, and put them away for next year. And by the way, in this particular situation, I know what you're saying, Rabbi, but when they burn down, won't the wood catch fire? And the answer is, Hanukkah candles burn at approximately 450 degrees. It's a paraffin candle, 450 degrees approximately. Oh yeah, it's enough to burn you. But the heat of combustion of most woods, especially if you get like a pressure treater, is well over 750 to 800 degrees. So you really don't have to worry about it. But you know what you can do? You can, how about this? Take a piece of aluminum foil and glue that down, or take a piece of, and I'm going to show you another option. You know, I'm just talking about household items. Let's look at the next one. And this also does away with major problems. You can go online to Amazon.com and buy these blocks. They're alphabet blocks. I saw them for $19.99, and there were 60 of them. And you could spell out not only Chanukah, by the way, this is a crazy way of writing Chanukah, H, but 2 Ks, but that's okay. You know what else you could do? Spell out children's names. Spell out, you know, you can do a lot of things. Now, what you see here is very simple as well. What they did is they just glued to the top of each block a 1/2-inch bolt nut, a 1/2-inch nut. And again, they cost approximately 39 cents each. So you're talking about not a lot of money, and you can have a lot of fun making it. And here you don't have to worry, because that's, as you know, obviously it's a stainless steel bolt. You don't have to worry about it catching fire. And it's a great way to overcome any fears anyone might have about the actual menorah and catching fire and flames. This is not a thimble menorah. This is called a spool menorah, and I apologize for the mistake. So I know what you're saying, probably the same question. Rabbi, where am I going to get, not in this day and age, in 2020, where am I supposed to get 9 spools of thread? You know, Rabbi, the last time I used a needle and thread was, you're right. Maybe, by the way, Judy has a sewing kit. This sewing kit she had when we got married 37 years ago. And I can tell you, I actually sew stuff. I do, for Jewish reasons, I sew stuff. But here's the whole point. We're married 37 years. Guess what? We never bought any new threads. Her 20 different threads lasted us 37 years. But how about this? I don't know about you, but I frequently, like once every 2 years, to me that's frequently, I forgot her name now. She does my alterations, and she was on the corner of 75th Street at the Ocean. Thank you. And now she's on Collins Avenue in 74th or 73rd Street. I guarantee you that woman goes through a lot of spools, okay? If you go to a dry cleaner, okay, my dry cleaner, there's a guy there working 9-10 hours a day, And all he's doing is alterations and fixings. I guarantee you they have empty spools. And ask them for it. They're not going to charge you for it. They throw them away. And you can see what's really great about this is it's cute. Look, they numbered them. Not only did they paint them, but they numbered them. Now, getting back to paint, a lot of people say, paint, Rabbi, paint is a mess. Okay, fine. You know what you could use?
Food coloring.
Food coloring, excellent. It works, especially on wood objects. You know
Nail
what else
polish.
works? Nail polish. Who's talking, by the way? Because these are great ideas and I can't see you. Danny, excellent.
Yep.
How about this?
Sharpies.
Sharpies work exceptionally well. They even on glass. And I bought them. They're 10, and this is like a wide. Okay, I'm not sure if you can see. This isn't a fine point. This isn't a medium. This is like a 1/4 inch, and it
Right.
works really, really well. I
Comes
bought
in all different colors.
I bought for my grandchildren. I bought 10 different colors: blue, light blue, dark blue, royal blue, sienna, orange, pink, red, yellow, orange, blue, indigo, violet. It's great. And just be creative, think about things. It's a lot of fun. Again, Rabbi, in this day and age, where am I going to get sewing thread spools? And the answer is ask your local dry cleaner, who's also a tailor, or anyone that does alterations. They really do have lots of them. But don't be creative. I'm throwing you ideas. You know what? How about this? I've been saving this. You're going to see it in a minute, actually. Someone gave me this a long time ago. It's a beautiful box, right? Beautiful. Now, I was going to turn it into a menorah for tonight. I thought this would be a perfect example of showing off a beautiful menorah box. But my granddaughter saw it and she said she wants to inherit it now. So Noah wants it now, so I couldn't turn it into a menorah. But if you ever go to, I know a lot of people don't go shopping, a lot of people don't go out, but after Chanukah for next year, let's say, for example, you are in, I forgot the name of the store, is it Marshall's? So Marshall's has a clearance area from Home Goods, and I've seen a lot of times little tiny boxes like this or similar size boxes. And they're ridiculously cheap, like $7.99, $8.99. One of them, it was actually, you opened it up and it was a music box. It was like $29.99, but it was beautiful. So how's this relative? Is that you're going to see in a minute. Boom, check it out. Isn't that beautiful? Now, let me add something to you, okay, regarding that. Watch, not only is it really beautiful, and again, you're afraid that it'll catch fire. Look what they did. They have a large bolt, then they have a washer, and a large nut, then they have a washer, and then they have a smaller nut. And by doing that, there's no way it's going to catch fire. Now, the other thing is, an old box really works well. You can use even a wooden cigar box. What's really nice about this, it's convenient storage of your matches, your candles, and bracha and song sheets. Think about it. It's really great. Now, if you don't want to attach them, they just line up really well. You can glue them to each other, but not to the box. And then when Hanukkah is over, you take them out. Oh, how do you clean it? It's really simple. Boil hot water. Pour the hot water over the candle, over the metal, and the wax just melts away. Continuously pour the hot water down your sink because you don't want the wax to become hard inside your pipes. Okay, just a little footnote. Some people say, no, don't ever do that. Instead, what you should do is just go outside and pour the hot water, like onto the grass, and that's not so bad. By the way, environmentally, it's not so bad either. And the idea is that's how you clean a menorah, just by pouring hot water on it, and it melts away the wrap. Okay, now this is actually a Lego menorah.
Yeah.
Okay, it was made by a group of students. They took them every day after school in the month of November, It took a whole group of students. I think there were 15 young boys, and it took them 4 weeks working 2 hours a day after school. And it's a fantastic, look how creative it is. Now, this is a more realistic menorah that your children and grandchildren can make. These are not Legos. It's made by the same company, but they're actually called Duplos. They're a bit larger. Now, this takes a lot of time because those Legos are really small pieces, but the Duplos are very large pieces. The Duplo, this one here, is usually used for smaller children, and the smaller parts, because also there's swallowing hazards, are for the older kids. Okay, so we talked about before about all of the candles have to be the same height. So the problem here is, if you look really closely, is that the candles would not be the same height. Rabbi, why are you showing us this if it's not a halachically acceptable menorah? And the answer is, it's not, but boy, is it creative. Now, here's another thing. I know it's not part of our culture or anything like that, but and I know a lot of people would reprimand me, but if you go to a place like secondhand shops, if you go to Salvation Army, and you go to their toy area, and I'll tell you how I know this. So if you go there, you can find a lot of broken toys. And the point is that the broken toys, so let's say, for example, if you look at this is called a troll. You see this guy in the middle where my mouse is? It's called a troll doll. That troll doll is really not worth anything because some kid cut off all the hair. You know, the hair is supposed to stick straight up. No, that's what the troll does. So a lot of times you can go and they end up after 45 days throwing away the toys, throwing away stuff. Why? Because no one's going to buy a broken toy. Plus, so someone said to me, but Rabbi, you shouldn't be buying the toys. You should be letting poor people buy the toys. So the answer is, I understand that, and I'm not denying that's a possibility. That's why I wouldn't buy toys before Christmas at like the Salvation Army. But after Christmas or holidays, guess what? They're just sitting there. And by the way, when you buy it, what happens with that money? You just paid for it. It's used for charitable purposes. It's not like you're, so you're actually helping. And after Christmas, especially after Christmas, people don't buy toys for their kids. In fact, if you look at the purchase curve, leading from Black Friday and Black Monday, purchasing goes skyrocketing. Then you hit Christmas, and then who buys toys the day after? Well, maybe the dafka, a day or two after Christmas when everything's on sale. But what happens is immediately afterwards, the sale of toys plummets for 4 or 5 weeks. The only toys that are purchased after Christmas is when people have, children birthday parties. So how's this relative is I chose this particular idea to show you, be creative, start thinking. What would happen if you got like Eliza? We actually, forgive me, but I'm so happy that my daughter is with us and the 2 granddaughters. We found Eliza's, what do you call it? My kids used to call them Iggies. They're not Iggies, they're trolls. We found her troll collection. She has like 15 different sized trolls. You know what else she has? Eliza and Judy saved them. Someone needs to be muted. They're having a conversation. Maybe Danny can find them.
It's somebody's calling the house. So
Can we figure out who's, okay.
I muted everyone.
Okay, thank you, Danny. So we also found, do you remember Little Ponies? We found Eliza's Little Pony collection. There's like 20 of them. And like Eliza was ecstatic, and Noah went crazy when she saw them, Little Ponies. And the whole idea is that a lot of them are the same exact size. And if I wanted to be creative and make a menorah, I would take 8 of them. And by the way, one is a unicorn little pony, My Little Pony, and it's taller than all the others. I would, put a shamash on her unicorn horn, and I would be creative. A lot of us have that in us, and it's something that, you know, COVID-19, what best do you have? Now, next I wanted to show you is a clothespin menorah. Want to know something? Look how beautiful it is and how creative it is. And you want to know what we're talking about? Forgive me, but I was distracted when my grandchildren was here. I actually was in a dollar store and I bought a package of them. If you want to, give me, you know, afterwards I'll run and get it. It was in the dollar store, it was $1.49 because it comes with 1.5 packages. So $1.49, I think I got 20, 24 and 36. So it came out to about 5 cents a clothespin. Amazing. You super glue them together. And if you look closely, underneath each candle is a metal frame, a metal nut. Now, if you notice, this shamish is just a little bit taller than the others. That's all. They just kept it out a 1/2 inch more than the others. Be creative. This is why is it a kosher? All of these are kosher menorahs because the candles are in a straight line, but it is allowed to be curved. But more importantly, they're not higher than the other. And it's a beautiful option. Let's go a little bit further. This is actually when I mentioned to you about the Salvation Army and goodwill. Because I actually know that someone shared with me that they that one of the things that they're got the name of the men's club now. Forgive me, this happens to me sometimes after 6 p.m. The Key Club, not the Key Club, the Kiwanis. The Kiwanis, he told me, you remember the Kiwanis, what they used to do is they used to go to Goodwill and buy gently used toys. And the men would, you know, get together and they would clean them and they would fix them if they needed to be. And that way they were able to quadruple the amount of gifts that they were able to give. And frequently they'd be things like this that really, you know, you could use to make a beautiful menorah. And all you have to do is, what are your limitations? You know, your ingenuity. Now, I chose this for 3 reasons. One, look, you can go to a dollar store and you can buy 4 cars for $1. Yeah, they're made in China. And yes, they're really poor quality, but that's okay. Why? Because your children are not going to be playing with them. You're going to be using them for a menorah. Now, the second reason why I chose this particular picture is, you see the shamish in the middle? It's lower than all the others. And I wanted to show you that's okay. As long as it's differentiated, it's either higher or it's lower or it's off to the side. It is a kosher menorah. Now, again, I just wanted to show you that it is a very creative way of making a menorah. The other thing I liked about this is it's in some kind of like glass dish. I'm not sure if you can see it. It's in some kind of long glass dish. And I don't think I can emphasize enough, even if you don't make your menorah, please, 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 always be conscious of fire hazards. In Israel, Passover and Chanukah, Erev Pesach, and all 8 days of Chanukah are amongst the saddest days for parents because children get burned and there are fires and it's horrible. Erev Pesach because people are burning their chametz, and Chanukah because people have menorahs lit in the windows and they forget about drapes or window blinds or other things. Also, children are playing in front of the menorahs, and girls with long hair. I cannot begin to tell you. I chose this picture, 1, to show you that the shamash is kosher. Second of all is to emphasize that to be creative and use these readily accessible. This menorah costs maybe $2-3 to make. And lastly, emphasize the need for safety. Okay, you can never be safe enough. It's a difficult problem. Now, I liked this, but I wanted to share with you. It's not real. It's CGI. Does anyone know what CGI is? It is a computer generated image, or they cheated. What they did was, this is from Star Wars. That's C-3PO, and he's sitting on the spaceship, the Millennial Falcon, and these are upside down stormtroopers, and the Shamash head is Darth Vader. The whole point is, it's not real. Someone cut and pasted it and made it. You know, it's not exactly CGI, but the whole idea is I chose it because it may not be real, but it's being creative. I guarantee you, if this was on Etsy, it would go in like maybe 30 seconds, it would be sold. The idea why I love this was, do not hesitate to make age appropriate, culturally appropriate, sex appropriate, you know, maybe I shouldn't say that, but bottom line is little boys would love this. There's because of Disney buying out the Star Wars, there's a whole new generation of children that love my Jonathan's two boys. They can't get enough. They even watching the original 25 and 30-year-old Star Wars. But the whole idea is figure out what your children and grandchildren like. What is this season's mishugas? And then be creative. We only have a few more pages, then I'll answer your questions. I love this because this is a remarkably simple, beautiful menorah. It is a piece of leftover white marble. And look at it, clean lines. It's beautiful, it's simple. It's a classic menorah, so a modern, but classic. You know, so someone, what was the term they used? It's Frank Lloyd Wright. You know what Frank Lloyd Wright said? Take something from nature and make it practical. Use nature when you integrate nature and what's around you into the house, by the way, I'll digress for a moment. There's a famous story about Frank Lloyd Wright. He designed the University of Pennsylvania, I think at College Park. And he met the deadline. The university opened on time with one exception. All the pathways around the school square, all the buildings were built around an open quad, an open field like. And all of the pathways that connected the buildings were not ready. And the school opened, they had the dedication, it was beautiful. Frank Lloyd Wright was there, all the benefactors, with one exception. There were no paths connecting the school buildings. There were no sidewalks. And after a week, the president of the university called up Frank Lloyd Wright and he said, it's time for us to put in the pathways. Goes, yeah, I'm on it. I'm studying it as we speak. And then about 3 weeks later goes, Mr. Frank Lloyd Wright, Mr. Wright, please, we need the pathways. He goes, listen, I'm on it. It's in the process, and I guarantee you that it's going to be ready. So finally, he sent him an official letter, and he said to him, Mr. Wright, school started in August. It is now November. We're getting into the rainy season and the snow and the sleet. I'm afraid I must demand. I want to see your plans for connecting all the buildings with pathways. So Mr. Frank Lloyd Wright, he comes to the university, he comes to the president, and he comes out, I don't want you to think I was procrastinating. I was deliberately waiting. There's a difference. And he takes him out to the field and he said, I had no idea where to put the paths. However, the students walking every day back and forth from classes, 5,000 to 6,000 students walking back and forth, they beat a path. And now I know where the paths are needed. But if I put in sidewalks just where I thought was right, it would necessarily not be the convenient place. But now we know exactly we're going to fill the need by the environment and what is necessary. That relates directly to this menorah. It's like someone took a piece of marble, white marble, and look how beautiful it is, just a plain white marble base with one gold setting that you can buy. By the way, that's actually brass, and it's a brass fitting that you can get at Home Depot for like 29 cents. It's what's called a 1/4-inch master fitting. And it's really simple. 29, well, actually, I don't know, I haven't bought one in a while, but definitely less than 89 cents. And there you have it. That's an example of a beautiful clean line menorah. You can laugh all you want, but let me tell you what you have here. The Manischewitz Tiki Torch Menorah. Now, if it was the Pearlson household, you'd have to be conscious of this at Passover. Save your Manischewitz bottle starting at Passover. And of course, Rosh Hashanah, Yom, and Sukkot. And you could easily have 9 bottles. Or go over to Nieves, go over to Dunya or Lily and say, hey, Lily, every week we go through 2 or 3 bottles, save them for me. Now, what are they burning? Because if you look closely, this is a candle in the middle, but this is oil. Well, what do they do? And the answer is very simple. You drill a hole, make a hole, right? You fill it with lamp oil. Lamp oil is available at every Home Depot, every Ace Hardware. Please go to Ace Hardware. You know why? The Shore family owns Ace Hardware. Sykes Ace Hardware, 79th Street. Always buy Jewish if you can. And you add a little food coloring, make it look like it's grapes, like wine, but it's not. It's just purple food coloring. And boom, you have a kosher menorah. Something to have fun with, that's all. Now, here let's talk about Jewish law. This is a tiki menorah. Now, tikis range anywhere from $12.99 to $19.99 per tiki. It depends. Is it real bamboo, et cetera, how tall is it? Is the 4 and the 6, they even have 8-inch ones. But this is, and you're allowed to use lamp oil. It is 100% kosher. And it's a great one for outdoor use. If you want one day, you know, your neighbor might have a 40-foot Christmas tree on their front yard. Well, you know, guess what? We can do the same thing. You want something really dynamic? Buy 9 tiki torches, fill them up with lamp oil, and boom, it's a kosher menorah. Of course, you can't exactly put it in your window, but it's even better because one of the mitzvot is Pearlson hanes. You have to publicize the miracle. What greater way? That's why you're supposed to put it in your mirror. Oh, that's actually, let me go back because I wanted to show you what the problem was. So the third thing about this particular picture is that the menorahs are kosher, be safe. The third thing is it really should be in a window. And the answer is when you put it in a window, it's Pearlson hanes. One portion of the mitzvah is to publicize the miracle. And having it in the privacy of your living room, no one outside can see it. But if you put it in a window, even for 30 minutes, everyone can see it. By the way, that's actually a good reason to have an electric menorah. You really shouldn't make the bracha on it unless it's an emergency, but it's a really great thing is to have an electric menorah in your window. Okay, you can actually fulfill that part of the mitzvah. So here we have the Manischewitz Tiki Torch Menorah. Here you have a real Tiki Menorah. Here, I love this. This is the Chabad in Anchorage, Alaska. And you know what that is? He's making an ice sculpture menorah. Isn't that creative? That's, again, taking what's local, what's understood, what's appreciated. Boom, what a beautiful menorah. You know how children always do things like, you know, macaroni necklaces for your parents? Again, this is not a kosher menorah. For obviously you don't light it, but it's something that children can do with their parents and their grandparents, an activity to sit around while the lights are burning. It's an opportunity to do a fun activity with your children. It's exactly 7:14. I have 1 minute. And what I wanted to go over with you really quickly is the Jewish laws of lighting the menorah. And I think I can do it in 1 minute or less. All 8 candles must be the same level. The menorah may be curved horizontally. The shema should be higher or lower or separate, but it should not be the same height as the others. You may put oil lights directly on a windowsill, but candles must be in some other type of holder. Okay, here's a little shocker for you. What happens if it's the 8th night of Chanukah and something happened and you ran out of candles? What should you do? You can fulfill the obligation, make a bracha, even though you're only lighting 1. The extra candle each night and everyone lighting their own menorah is an augmentation and a custom. Did you hear that? That's a little shock. That means lighting 1 and then 2 and then 3 on the 4th night, lighting 4. That's extra, that's showing our love and our commitment by doing it really special and grand. But if you only have 1 candle, you can fulfill your obligation and make a bracha. Do it. Make both brachas, even though you're only lighting 1. If lighting many menorahs in one place, 1 shamash is good. That's all you really need. Who may light the menorah? Anyone over bar and bat mitzvah age, and they can fulfill the obligation for anyone else in the household. Even if you're alone, you must light a candle, light a menorah. Women, like men, are required to light a menorah. A wife is required to light if her husband is not present. Let's say he's out of town or he was delayed. Sorry, this is what it's like to be a rabbi. 7 o'clock at night, people are still calling me. A wife is required to light if her husband is not present, even though he's not there. He fulfills the mitzvah. So for example, what happens if his flight is delayed? Or what happens if he's stuck on a tarmac? Guess what? Wife or anyone over bar mitzvah in his house, anyone in his household, lights the menorah. He comes back at 3 o'clock in the morning. Guess what? He doesn't have to light the menorah. As long as someone, an adult from his family, lit the menorah, he actually fulfills. It's best for him to light, but if not, okay. Where to light the menorah anywhere in your house, but it's best to light it in the window or someplace where people can see. When to light? After nightfall. You are allowed to light a maximum of 1 1/4, approximately an hour and 15 minutes before dark. So that means if we light, nightfall is around 6:15. You can theoretically light as early as 5 o'clock with a bracha on one condition, that it will last till 6:45, because the candle has to burn for 30 minutes after nightfall. So if nightfall is 6:15, the candle has to be burning till 6:45, okay? Now you can light as early as approximately 5, as long as it's going to burn until 6:15. Okay, until when? You can light until like 5 o'clock in the morning. Why? Because it has to, as long as it lasts 30 minutes, you're gonna be fine. Okay, questions. These are questions I've been asked over the years. Rabbi, what happens if my candles blew out? Do I have to relight them? And the answer is, if they had the potential to last 30 minutes, you don't have to. It's good if you do. But what happens if I only one of them lit and lasted 30 minutes? Then you definitely don't have to. But what happens if you lit a candle that will definitely burn for 30 minutes, but it blew out after only 10? And the answer is, here's a shock for you. You don't have to, because it could have lasted 30 minutes. As long as it could have, you don't have to. It's better if you do, but if you don't, you haven't committed a sin. Rabbi, my brother bought me a fancy menorah, but the candles are different heights. He is coming over tonight to light with us. What should I do? If you don't feel comfortable, I should say feel comfortable. If you don't feel comfortable explaining to him why it's not kosher, don't start up. Don't become holier than thou. Light it, but also light an additional menorah. Okay? Listen, the idea of Chanukah is to be loving, endearing, and healing the world. Don't start animosities. That was my response to this person. He really bought you an artistic but not kosher? Use it. And just it is a tradition that more than one person lights the menorah in your house. Just make sure that the second menorah is a kosher one. Rabbi, I'm lighting alone tonight while traveling for business out of town. Do I have to sing all those songs like Ma'al Tzur? Surprise, no. All the songs are traditional and not mandatory, except for I Had a Little Dreidel. That's mandatory. Just joking. Okay, I'm sorry I went 4 minutes over, but I will answer any questions if you have them for me. You're all muted, so you have to unmute yourself if you want to ask a question. Got any questions for me?
So you said it could be either side, left or right?
So let me go back to the shared screen. And here I have, the answer is no. When you are facing the menorah, the first candle goes on the right.
On the right, correct.
On the second night, you keep on adding it up slowly. You always fill it up from the right to the left. What candle do you light? The new candle. Every night, light the new candle. Okay, so I'll give you an example. So this is the first night.
Mhm,
Can you guys see that?
mhm.
This is the second night.
Night.
This is the third night.
Don't see third night.
You don't see it?
No,
This is the fourth night. It's not coming through.
No,
no.
It's
I
very strange.
only
I
second.
see them.
Okay, so I'm writing and I don't know why it's not being shared. Does anyone else see it? Danny, do you
I
see it?
I see
Danny
it.
sees,
We see the first night and the second night.
Only first and second.
That's all.
and you don't see where I'm drawing?
No,
No,
no.
That's strange. I see it and I see it on my phone. I have a separate device connected.
oh, well.
Oh,
No,
that's-
we see only,
I wrote in blue. Nobody sees it.
yeah, that.
Yes,
yes.
Yeah, that's what
That
I'm
we
talking
see.
about. Okay.
Okay.
So now what happens is this is the way you fill it up, but the way you light it is this direction.
Oh,
You always light the newest candle first.
oh, okay.
Okay.
So you have all these candles here. You
Right.
lit the shamus and the first one.
Correct.
And now you go back here and you feel and you kindle all this before.
Right. So, let me teach you a way to remember it. So let's say on the first night of Chanukah, you have your best friend come over and you say to him, you know what? You're my best friend. I haven't seen you in a long time because of COVID-19. I'm going to honor you with lighting the first candle. Okay. Thank you. That's so beautiful. I want you to come back tomorrow night. He comes back the second night, but the second night you have another friend. And you say to your friend, I haven't seen you in a long time. I want you to honor me by lighting one candle. Who should go first? Your new friend.
The new
Because
friend.
your
Right.
previous friend, he did it last night.
Right.
You got
But-
to light the first candle last night. Your
But
new
is it-
friend, every night you bring in a new friend, you honor them with lighting the new candle.
But the new
Okay.
friends start here. The new friends start here, or are they after the first one?
I don't know what you mean. What are you pointing at?
I'm pointing at the first candle that you did with the shamus. Your friend came in and you give him the honor. Which candle would it be, number 2 or number 8?
Okay, so how about if I do this? Hold on a second. Give me a moment. Clear all drawings. Okay, so on the first night, okay, let's make believe. Loretta, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Second, Mark.
Loretta, pick a night of Hanukkah. What night do you want me to use? What night?
The third.
Okay, so let's make believe. This is the first night.
Right.
This is the second night. This
And the
is the
third
third
night.
night.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
Which one do you light first? And the answer is
The
this
third
one.
Yes. Okay. So why did you draw the arrow this way?
Because you light them in this direction. You go 1, 2, 3. That's the order that you light them.
Ah, okay. Okay.
okay.
You fill them up in this
Mhm.
direction,
Yeah.
but you burn them, you light
the-
them, I should say, in this
yeah.
direction.
Okay. That was the
Okay.
question. Okay. Now it's clear. Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you,
Rabbis,
Rabbi. Thank you.
Yes,
if you're facing the menorah, that's where
Yes.
that's how you distinguish between right or left.
Yes.
Does it matter whether you're facing north or south?
He's giving us he's giving us a lesson.
hold on just a second, I have to mute Loretta. Okay, so the answer is north and south is not a factor. It's a very good question because normally you would say, hey, we all, Rabbi Pearlson is obsessed with all things Israel. let's make sure it faces east. And the reality of it is facing east is not nearly as important as facing a window outside. So for example, I've got windows facing my golf course. And the answer is that's not kosher because at night, nobody sees it. There's the golf course out there. But I also have windows on South Shore Drive. That's the main thoroughfare that I'm on, or the big street. So
Right.
if I want to fulfill the tradition, I have to make sure that I put it in the window facing the street, regardless of northwest, southeast, or west.
So if I
question.
have all sections with windows, I could just pick the one I like best.
If they all face a street, you're
Mhm.
absolutely correct.
Okay.
It's all good. Okay. Are there any other questions? Okay. Well, I did my part in 47 or 48 minutes. I tried to keep it close to 45. I answered questions, and I hope you enjoyed the class. If you want more, it's been recorded, and if not, also I can just let me know, and I'll send you those sheets that I created for tonight's class.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Right.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you.
Absolutely. Danny, thank you for your assistance.
You're welcome. If you send me the Word document, I can put it on tomorrow's Shabbat bulletin on the email, and I'll upload the class to the YouTube
Excellent.
channel. once
Thank you,
you're- once
Danny.
we're done.
Danny, as long as I have you, yesterday or the